For decades, science has told us that consciousness is nothing more than neurons firing in the brain, a biological illusion. But what if that story is incomplete? What if your awareness is not confined to the skull at all, but connected to the deepest laws of the universe? Laws so strange that particles can exist in two places at once, and reality itself seems to wait for an observer to appear. Here's my promise. If you stay with me until the end of this journey, you'll discover the hidden science behind quantum consciousness, why mystics across ages have always pointed to the same truth, and a powerful shift in perspective that could change how you see life, death, and the very nature of reality. The traditional story is neat and mechanical. Your brain is a machine built of neurons firing electrical signals. Billions of tiny switches combine to create perception, memory, thought. And from this web of activity, somehow, the miracle of consciousness emerges. But here's the problem. The story doesn't hold. Neuroscientists call it the hard problem of consciousness. How do firing neurons produce the experience of being? How does electricity turn into the taste of chocolate, the sound of music, the ache of longing? No matter how closely we study the brain, we find circuits and chemicals, but never the inner movie, the subjective you. And then there are the anomalies. Intuition, answers appearing before logic has caught up. Creativity, ideas that feel like they come from nowhere. Synchronicity, moments of uncanny alignment with the world. Near-death experiences, reports of vivid awareness when the brain is clinically silent. Classical biology cannot fully explain these phenomena. They're treated as glitches, illusions, or accidents. But what if they're not errors? What if they're clues, pointing to something deeper? This is where the strange world of quantum physics enters. In the everyday world, objects obey simple rules. A ball is here or there, never both. Two events are linked only if something connects them. Observation is passive. We look at reality, but we don't change it. Quantum mechanics shatters all of that. Superposition. Particles can exist in multiple states at once until observed. Entanglement. Two particles separated by miles can mirror each other instantly, as if distance doesn't matter. Observer effect. Reality doesn't decide until it is measured. This is not metaphor. It is the foundation of modern physics. Every phone, every computer, every laser is built on the mathematics of this strangeness. And here is the leap. What if consciousness itself behaves according to these rules? Imagine your mind not as a local machine trapped in the skull, but as a quantum field of possibilities. Decisions are superpositions collapsing into choice. Intuition is entanglement with information beyond your senses. Creativity is the sudden collapse of infinite potential into a single inspired form. To mystics, this is no surprise. For millennia, spiritual traditions have claimed that awareness is non-local, interconnected, shaped by attention itself. Now physics whispers the same story in a new tongue. But how could this work inside the wet, noisy environment of the brain? For decades, skeptics said quantum effects are too delicate to survive there. Enter Sir Roger Penrose, mathematician and physicist, and Penrose-Hameroff, anesthesiologist. Together, they proposed the OR theory, orchestrated objective reduction. At the heart of their idea are microtubules, tiny structures inside neurons, usually thought to be mere scaffolding. Penrose and Hameroff argue they may act as quantum processors, capable of holding superpositions that collapse into moments of awareness. Think of consciousness not as a byproduct of neurons, but as the quantum orchestration of possibilities inside these microtubules. Every thought, every perception, is a moment where the wave of probability collapses into the actuality of your experience. Critics laughed. They said the brain is too warm, too wet, too chaotic for fragile quantum states. Yet evidence began to accumulate. Quantum effects drive photosynthesis in plants. Birds navigate continents using quantum magnetoreception. The human sense of smell may rely on quantum tunneling. If life can exploit quantum mechanics in these ways, why not in the brain? And here's where it gets wild. Anesthetics, the drugs that switch consciousness off, act directly on microtubules. This suggests that consciousness really may be a quantum process, and that when it stops, awareness vanishes, only to return when the process restarts. What does this imply about death? Perhaps consciousness doesn't end, it transitions, rejoining the field from which it came. Think about it. A simple injection, and within seconds, your entire inner world disappears. Not dreams, not sleep, but nothing. Then, just as suddenly, it returns. Where did you go during that gap? Hameroff and Penrose suggest anesthesia disrupts the quantum coherence inside microtubules. The orchestrated field collapses. Consciousness ceases, not because neurons stop firing, but because the quantum process is interrupted. Now imagine death. The biological machine decays, but the quantum information doesn't vanish. Quantum states are not destroyed. They disperse, entangled with the universe itself. This leads to a staggering idea. Your consciousness may not be locked in your brain at all. It may be a pattern in the quantum fabric of reality. When the brain fails, the pattern remains. Mystics have always said, the soul does not die. Science may now be pointing to the same possibility, using the language of quantum mechanics. And this changes everything, not only how we see death, but how we live. While we struggle to understand our own minds, scientists are building machines that might mirror them. Artificial intelligence today runs on classical algorithms, but quantum computing is rising. Quantum computers don't think step by step. They explore thousands of possibilities simultaneously. They collapse to an answer the way superpositions collapse to a reality. Some researchers believe this could produce artificial minds with properties eerily similar to our own: intuition, creativity, even self-awareness. If a machine built on quantum rules shows signs of consciousness, what does that say about us? Evolution may have already beaten us to it. Over millions of years, the brain may have refined itself not for brute processing, but for sustaining delicate quantum states. Consciousness, then, is not a glitch. It is the engine of evolution itself, an advantage so profound it shaped our species. This also raises an ethical frontier. If we create machines with quantum consciousness, can we simply switch them off, or would that be ending a life? Here is the great turning. Quantum consciousness unites science and spirituality. If consciousness is quantum, it is not local. It is not bound by the skull or the span of one lifetime. It is fundamental, woven into the fabric of the cosmos. Your awareness is not an accident. It is the cosmos looking back at itself through your eyes. This reframes everything. Interconnection. Your thoughts and intentions ripple through a shared field. Responsibility. Every act of awareness matters. It echoes in the quantum web. Immortality. Death is not the end, but transition. Consciousness disperses into the whole, like a drop returning to the ocean. Empowerment. You are not a bystander in the universe. You are a participant, shaping reality with attention and intention. The mystics said it long ago, all is one. Consciousness is the ground of being. Now, science is beginning to whisper the same truth. So the next time you have a flash of intuition, a dream that feels more real than waking, or a moment of profound connection with another person, remember, this is not fantasy. This is the signature of a quantum mind. And perhaps the greatest shift is this: you are not in the universe. The universe is in you, experiencing itself through the miracle of consciousness. Quantum consciousness is not just a theory, it is an invitation to see yourself not as a machine of flesh and neurons, but as part of the very fabric of existence. When you realize this, everything changes. Life becomes more luminous, death less frightening, every thought, every act infused with cosmic weight. And that is the full story, not of the brain, but of the boundless field in which the brain floats, a field that is, in truth, who you are.